Well, I don't really think that much anymore. I know things because I work at the quantum or the frequency level, and so at that level, there's not much sensory perception because it's too fast. The vibration level is too fast. So typically, when I'm giving work, I just know. And then because I can shift things at the quantum or the frequency level, I can make changes at that level. And then if I'm receiving information for any of our more advanced retreats, like we're giving one in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico in 2 weeks, or the one that we're giving in Egypt later this year, for me, I just receive the information. So I don't think anymore. I used to. I used to be a really very big time control freak. So I had a 5-year plan that was very detailed, and that went out the window when I started to do this. So I don't try to figure things out.
Lots of like big units and big like people in school systems and gatherings, if they're all thinking the same thing, they're also going to be thinking the same thing. So basically that would essentially mean you've got to step away from the tribe of people that think too much, and then go into places like conscious community where people have control over their thoughts, and they do meditate and they do yoga and they do breath work. Because it's like going into a farm that's got full of cows everywhere. You're going to come out smelling of shit, and until you leave the farm, you're always going to come out smelling of shit.
Part of what your choice was is to be strong enough to be able to hold your center, this awareness, this presence that you have amidst more and more chaos, more and more thought from your lineage, so that you've distanced from it. Because eventually what will happen is you'll break completely from it, because you know that you have the strength to not sit in the center of it.
Just quickly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who still listens to the podcast. I started 4 years ago, and since then I've had over 1 million downloads. I get 5,000 downloads per month, and I've had over 200 different guests. So a massive thank you to everyone who still listens. If you could please do me a favour, if you could rate and review the podcast, that will be amazing, because it helps get the podcast out to new, conscious people like yourself. And my goal is to awaken as many people around the world. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's YesKingOliver, should you wish to see what I get up to on my day-to-day moments. Back to the episode. So I moved in and I moved out of my family house on the weekend to a conscious community in London. So every morning we have activities like yoga, breathwork, meditation, tantra, tai chi. There's a communal eating area where we'll all cook together. We've got a sauna and ice baths outside. We've got a fire pit. There's rooms where we play guitar and we sing. And imagine like the most incredible festival in the world. That is what it is. It's the festival lineup, which conscious people love, but then they're very sad when they go back to their normal life in their house and it's over. And so what they've done is they've created this amazing communal space as if we're at a festival, but we've got our own apartment, our own kitchen. And so far it has been the most incredible transition ever. And I didn't plan to join one of these communal places. I was looking at normal houses, and went to an event in London, and I came here and I was like, what the hell is this place? What is this place? I can't believe it exists right here. And then I paid my deposit, and a month later I was in. So just trust in the universe will guide you where you need to be. You think it's over there. The universe is like, no, 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 no. You're supposed to be here. Trust it. And then I'm here.
That sounds awesome. It's like you're at camp, but permanently.
Literally, it's like a permanent festival camp that never ends.
Yeah, exactly. Totally, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. So what have you been thinking about trying to work out lately that you're just sort of with your thoughts?
Well, I don't really think that much anymore. I know things because I work at the quantum or the frequency level, and so at that level, there's not much sensory perception because it's too fast. The vibration level is too fast. So typically when I'm giving work, I just know. And then because I can shift things at the quantum or the frequency level, I can make changes at that level. And then if I'm receiving information for any of our more advanced retreats, like we're giving one in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico in 2 weeks, or the one that we're giving in Egypt later this year, for me, I just receive the information. So I don't think anymore. I used to be a really very big time control freak. So I had a 5-year plan that was very detailed and that went out the window when I started to do this. So I don't try to figure things out. And I used to be a very avid reader. But I don't read anymore. It's more like I create the content. And, I'm also very at peace with whatever resonates with whomever needs to resonate with it will, and whoever doesn't, it doesn't. So I'm not concerned about it being popular in the sense of like well liked. I mean, I feel like I for myself want to put out the best version of myself, the highest quality, the highest vibrating thing, but I'm not as attached to how many people love it. And I find also it's funny, at least in my journey, as I've risen my frequency resonance, my mind stuff isn't that important anymore. Like there's a lot of noise, and so I think the challenge for a lot of people, especially nowadays, is to not have the noise be present. And so that all that like stuff that we can be concerned about, that we can obsess about, that we focus on, tends to become less important when you start to discover, or at least I've noticed in myself and then the clients that I work with, as they start to discover what I call the big S self, the part of you, the aspect of you that is infinite, indestructible consciousness, which is guiding, just like you for where you found your living experience. It's the same thing, it's nudging us along in terms of our own spiritual journey. Yeah.
It's very interesting because not many people don't think, and I also don't think. So back in the day, I had Tourette's. So I lived in my head, analyzing, working out every flipping thing you can imagine. So like you, there's no thoughts. It's just presence and awareness. I know things, like you say. I don't need to think about why is she over there? Why is she doing that? Oh, that's why. Like the commentators going through each stage. I've already done that like 10 years ago. So I know the blueprint for what she's doing. So you just quickly observe her, and you just make a in the moment present calculation of she's over there, she's doing this. It's almost like time collapses into one. And rather than spending minutes trying to think about the answer, it's just, I know the answer. So there's no thoughts. People say to me, what do you mean you don't think? And I'm like, I just don't think anymore, because I believe that like an inquisitive dog, on the first part of the walk, it will sniff every damn thing, every tree, every lamppost. And once it's got its sniffing out his head, it will just go on a walk with you. If we if we work out stuff that we don't have answers to, or if we have a question that we don't have an answer to, we need to find the answer. Otherwise, it would just stay in our brain forever. And because I was a very inquisitive child, I asked questions for every flipping thing that I didn't have an answer to. And because I've got the answers, there's no thoughts, and that allows me to be truly present and just be in the now all the time. And as a result of not thinking, there's no anxiety, there's no depression, because there's no, I need to do something in the future, or, oh, that happened to me when I was a kid, so I'm depressed. And obviously that is what we're supposed to be. So I've not really come across anyone who says they don't think, but I get it.
That's awesome. It's very freeing. I know it probably sounds, for some of you listening, kind of annoying, because you're just like, screw you. Like, you know what I mean? I have all these thoughts all the time. And the thing is, it's a process, right? I mean, I just want to put it out there. It's not like, I used to think a lot. So if I can do it, you can do it. And the thing is, it really is about raising your frequency resonance, from my perspective anyway. It's about raising your frequency resonance. It's about releasing the distortions that cause you to think all the time, to have all these emotions, to be, having the thoughts that create the emotion, the need to amplify the emotion, the drama around it, all that stuff, right? So anyway, it's possible is all I'm saying.
And also, like, don't forget, back at school, there's one teacher with 30 students. For someone to really understand something, you need to ask endless questions until you get it. For me, I've asked my dad 15 questions about one thing, just so I really got it. No teacher's got that ability to answer so many people's questions. And then you've got the other part, which is no one has the information that they're asking the question to. And so they never get the answer. Another thing is that people aren't being heard, or they're told to shut up, or go and ask somebody else, or mummy's too busy on the phone or whatever. And so that person just learns to keep all this information in their head, and it just goes round and round and round, gets really knotted, and then that just becomes people's lives, and they're just constantly thinking. And I realized that when I think, or used to think, my brain would build and fire up more neurons to think more and more and more and more and more, almost like a bodybuilder lifting more weights, and he just keeps lifting more weights. Now I don't think anymore. My brain's calmed down. So there's no thoughts, there's no commentator, there's nothing to shut off because there's nothing there.
I agree.
It's the machine has been corrupted. There's no power. So there's just no thoughts. And so when people think, they keep the machine going.
Yeah. I also think that, the mind is a tool that's powerful. And I feel like in our culture, we put our emphasis on the mind, right? And so it's an insatiable thing. But in my experience, the gateway to the infinite is really the heart space. So when you can actually move your consciousness from your head to your heart space, and the heart space becomes dominant, right? So that's where you're in that present moment awareness, where you're in that expansion of the infinite in the present moment. You're in your felt sense, your awareness sense, etc. That is what primarily guides you. But then, sometimes you have to book a plane ticket. So of course you have to engage your mind, right? Because you need to function in the world. I mean, you still have to buy groceries. You still have to, get a phone plan or whatever it is that you feel like you need to do, work, all that sort of stuff. The mind is important to engage at that time, but really as a tool rather than the dominant force, which you feel is the thing that drives you. So I just want to clarify that, because it's not like the mind is something that's evil or terrible, because I think there's a lot of demonization of the mind. It's not like the mind is bad. It just has a certain function. It's supposed to judge this or that. It is supposed to compare things to other things, etc. It's just gotten completely distorted, and most of our attention is up here in the mind as opposed to in the heart space. So instead of being this thing which is a tool, which is a powerful tool which can help us, it has become this slave. We've become slaves to it, is what I'm trying to say. It's become our master. And if you can shift your awareness or your consciousness to the heart space and have that be dominant in the sense of what it is that you're aware of, then the mind can function as the tool it's meant to be.
Absolutely. So I like you, I will think when I have to think about something. If I need to get across London, I will think. Once it's done, it is done. The brain should be these days like ChatGPT. The humans are in control. The humans are the heart. We're just present and feeling. When we need some information, we go to ChatGPT. When we need information, we go to the brain and our thoughts, and we work out what we need to work out. Once ChatGPT's answered the question, we're not asking it more questions like, so how are you today? Like, why did you not do the bins like the husband says? It's like, you've asked me the questions, piss off, like, go and live your life. So that's what the brain needs to be now. The add-on to the browser, right? But the main part is the browser, which is the heart. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I know that it sounds like, it's funny. It sounds simple, and it is simple, but it's also, as humans, it's very complicated. It's like, how many books are written about moving into your heart space, and a number of them. It's not like it's a brand new spiritual concept, but it's a hard thing to do, especially in our society, which is so focused on feeding the mind, feeding the mind, feeding the mind, and it can be hard to break away from. But my feeling is we're at this point of consciousness where more and more people like yourself and myself are holding the resonance of that possibility. And the more of us that do internal work, however it shows up for you, for me, the form I give is frequency work, the more you can release your distortion patterns, which is not a thinking thing, it's a felt awareness thing. And as a result, then your mind will slow down. Then you will come into your center. Then you will be able to not be so engaged by it, and you have distance from your thoughts. I think that's the hard thing, Oliver. I think a lot of people, when they have their thoughts, it's like there's a lot of them, there's many of them, they're loud, and we don't have distance from them. And the trick, at least for many people that I've had the privilege of helping, is to gain that distance, that space, to know that it doesn't run you.
And also, family dynamics are often the same energy, right? They're all the same people, think the same, eat the same, talk the same. So if you've got the uncle that's thinking about all this shit in his head, even if he's not saying it out loud, his cousin, his brother, his sister, his mum and his dad, if they're all just having like Thanksgiving dinner or sitting around the table for Christmas, they're all going to be thinking the same unconscious thoughts. So it's almost like, to free yourself, you've got to step away from the types of people that haven't got the ability to control their thoughts, because even if they're not speaking out loud, if they're just sat on the bed, say at night time, and your partner's just going off on one in their head, then the partner's going to be picking up on all that anxiety and all those thoughts, because we know we pick up each other's thoughts. So lots of like big units and big like people in school systems and gatherings, if they're all thinking the same thing, they're also going to be thinking the same thing. So basically that would essentially mean you've got to step away from the tribe of people that think too much, and then go into places like conscious community where people have control over their thoughts, and they do meditate and they do yoga and they do breath work. Because it's like going into a farm that's got full of cows everywhere. You're going to come out smelling of shit. And until you leave the farm, you're always going to come out smelling of shit. So, you know.
Well, I agree with you to some degree. And then from my perspective, I have a slightly different perspective from you. So I agree with you that there is this collective consciousness that's running. And to me, we all have what I call distortion patterns, which exist at the level of the quantum or the frequency. So, I mean, your listeners probably know all this, but everything is vibrating. And the rate of vibration determines the form the thing shows up in, right? So if you take something really physical, like water, when the molecules vibrate really fast, it's steam. When it slows down, it's liquid water. And when it slows down more, it becomes ice or solid. Well, if you extrapolate that all the way out to consciousness or the oneness or pure source or the divine or whatever you want to call it, that of course is vibrating very, very fast. When you have a drop in consciousness, for the oneness to even look at itself as like, oh, that's one, you need to have a drop in vibration. It's required. And when that happens, then frequencies are formed. And when that slows down in terms of vibration, there's something called energy that we talk about often. And then when that slows down even more, it creates like thoughts, emotions, physicalness. And so to me, what you're talking about is distortion patterns that are held in the lineage. So when we come into embodiment, okay, so I know it seems hard for some people because it seems like, life can suck, but you chose to come into embodiment because it's a rare thing. To experience form as consciousness is something not usual, because 99.9999999% of everything is not form. It's the 0.00000 whatever the equivalent is, one that is form. So the thing is, you get to experience something rare, even though it can kind of be a pain in the ass and uncomfortable and a challenge sometimes. It's something that's rare. It's why you chose it. So when you come into embodiment, to me, when you basically are this sphere of pure source energy that vibrates at a very unique, specific rate. And that rate of vibration is what makes you, you, and me. And when it drops into embodiment, because it needs to drop in vibration to have density, to have form, what look to me like layers and 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 layers of duct tape form around the sphere. Now, the duct tape is heavy because, if you were sitting in the middle of a big ball of duct tape, you would probably notice that it was very heavy. And it causes two things. One, it causes your vibrational level to drop because of the heaviness. And also it blinds you. So you don't remember that there is infinite fields of pure source energy all around you. You just don't see it. All you see are the layers of duct tape. So the layers of duct tape are a metaphor for distortion, and the distortions come from things like your ancestors, or what I would say your lineage. So your lineage patterns are very strong, actually, and they have amplified generation over generation over generation. So the field of epigenetics is showing that what your ancestors experience very much influence how your genes express. And the other thing is that, you have cultural conditioning, you have religious distortion patterns, you have your past lives. So for you, you have chosen to incarnate, if I may, Oliver, just for you personally, when you chose to incarnate, part of what your choice is to be strong enough to be able to hold your center, this awareness, this presence that you have amidst more and more chaos, more and more thought from your lineage, so that you've distanced from it. Because eventually what will happen is you'll break completely from it, because you know that you have the strength to not sit in the center of it. So my feeling is that for sure, the first step is to be aware that those patterns are running like you have, right? Like to notice, like, wow, all my family has similar thoughts. They have similar limiting beliefs. They have similar patterns of what they get to experience, what it is that they believe the world should be, what I should be. And I don't really want that for myself. I want something different because I'm different. So I think that's really important. And then what happens is, as your frequency resonance continues to rise, you recognize, at least my experience is, that you recognize that irrespective of what's happening around you, you can hold your space or your field clear, which you already can, and you will start to even more. So wherever you are, whether you're with your family, in the culture, in the community that you're in, which is amazing, all of it, your resonance is really strong and really bright because you're referencing yourself and not the external, which you're already doing. So as that happens and you get stronger and brighter, what's amazing is the ripple effect, because people around you start to entrain to you. So even I have all these stories of people who are like, I have a really hard time relating to my family. I'm like the black sheep. They don't get me, et cetera, et cetera. And they haven't seen them for like a year, except they show up for, the Thanksgiving dinner. But what happens is when they show up to the Thanksgiving dinner and their resonance is higher, then all of a sudden, the grandmother who drove them crazy or the auntie who is really critical somehow shift. And it's not like the person went in being like, I want my family dynamic to shift. They just are. And as a result, the higher vibrating order always is the dominant, because it will, first of all, others that are lower in resonance will entrain up. You also, when you're of a higher resonance, can move into a higher and different timeline. So the people in the timeline appear differently. So it gives you a lot of access. So that would be my slight twist on what it is that you're saying.
Explain a bit about the timeline thing, how you change the timeline by simply raising your own vibration, and obviously others will gravitate towards you differently, but timeline specific.
Yeah, sure. So there's an infinite field of possibilities, as you likely know. It's infinite. And so therefore infinite number of timelines. And everyone, so I'm just going to back up. Because there are infinite number of timelines, what dictates what timelines you get to experience is your frequency resonance. It's like the lock that opens the key of the different timelines. So it's the key, that opens the lock of the different timelines. I said that wrong. So hopefully that makes more sense that I did say it backwards. So anyway, your resonance is the key. The timelines are the things that are locked. The higher your resonance, the more higher level possibilities or higher level timelines are available to you. So like I said, just to make this really clear, the infinite is always there. It's about your access, right? Your access is dictated by your resonance, just to make that really clear. So the thing is, as you start to rise in resonance, and it's already starting to happen, you can access higher and higher level timelines. So what does that mean to people? Like, why do you care? So because they have an infinite number of timelines, it has like different versions of all the different people that you will interact with, right? What you get to experience, who you get to meet, who you get to collaborate with, etc. Okay, so everyone thinks that it's like some very cinematic moment, like, Gwyneth Paltrow in Sliding Doors, or, like The Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher, like all these different timeline movies where like in one timeline, you have a sister who's like horrible, and then the next timeline she's dead. Yes, of course she's dead, but there's also infinite variations where she is still horrible. Oh, she's horrible, but a little bit more generous. You know what I mean? Horrible, but like not critical of this. You know what I mean? Like, right. And as you rise up in your timelines, the how people show up is very different. And I have so many stories, like for example, of people when they, do a group frequency calibration and the resonance jumps, the person in their life changes. And it's not like the person changes. The timeline that they entered was a higher resonating timeline. So the version of that person in that timeline is therefore different. So for example, I have a client who's in her 70s, actually. She's amazing. And she was going to divorce her husband because she found him really controlling. And she's of a generation where she didn't work. She was the homemaker. And he went out in the world and worked. And whenever she had to, if she wanted money, she had to ask him for it. Okay, that was the generational pattern of the time. And she found it, as many people would, kind of demeaning in a way, and very disempowering, because she's like, okay, I can't do what I want to. So anyhow, fast forward, to like 70 something. And she decides, okay, I want a divorce, but in order for me to do that, I need to have some money, because he has control over all their money. She's not allowed to access it. So she decides, okay, we're going to sell our house. And then if we get a divorce, I'm going to receive half of it. So anyhow, there's this long fight over how much preparation they're going to do, whatever. He's resisting. At the same time, she's doing her own inner work, right? She's releasing her distortion pattern. She's rising in her frequency resonance. She's not trying to control him. She's working on herself because her reality is a reflection of her vibrational rate. He starts to shift. He starts to do things around the house. They get a great offer, etc. But here's the thing that's the big shift. She does, I believe it was a group frequency calibration, which is like a group thing that we do to raise your resonance. And hers was about attachment to the outcome. So that was like really appropriate at that time. And the next day she was going to sit down and have a conversation with him because they'd managed to sell the house. Like, what are we going to do with this money? And I'm going to ask for a divorce now so I can claim half of it. She had this whole thing like scripted, right? So she goes to have a conversation with him. And before she can open her mouth to say, I'm asking for a divorce, he says to her, I'm really excited that we were able to sell the house for the price that we have. And I feel like you should be the one who manages the proceeds. She was like, what just like that's not possible. She actually said, what? He said, I feel like you should be the one to manage the proceeds because I feel like you have a good instinct and I feel like you're the one who would be good to invest this for us. She was like, this has not happened in like 50 plus years of marriage. Never has she been allowed ever to have any control over any of their money, much less hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So my point is, in that moment, her resonance rose enough to jump into a different timeline where the version of her husband that existed in that timeline was this version. So what happened? She didn't ask for the divorce. She's like, I like this version. I can work with this version. So anyway, they ended up buying a sailboat and they're like touring around the world. So anyway, that's the things that can happen. And I realize it sounds like magic, and it kind of is actually. But really what it is that we're remembering what we do when we're rising in our resonance. We have these abilities that we're not really aware that we have because we're so mired in the thoughts that you and I were just talking about at the very beginning.
So essentially, it's rather than trying to control the person to control the outcome, be the outcome, act as if the outcome is already there, act how you want your life to be, and then the people around you will start to see a difference in you, and by the law of attraction, they'll start to vibrate at the same frequency that you are at, and eventually you'll get what you actually deep down wanted by simply going home and being the person that you want to be. And just like magic, it shifts everything around you into perspective. That's an amazing story, and just the true definition of keep working on yourself, keep being the best version that you want to be, and people will change and they'll either gravitate towards you more or they won't be there anymore because they can't stand you. Basically, you're just so different. You're more pure, and people will just disappear, and then you'll be left with the things that you want in your life. That's cool.
And I would just like to say, like, you know, it's important to be your best. I feel like, because I also it's not a finite process. Everyone thinks that awakening is like this point that you achieve, and then you achieve it, and like you're done. To me, awakening is the beginning. It's the beginning of the infinite. Awakening is an infinite process. So, in addition to being your best self, for me, what I had to do was I had to start to release my distortion patterns. And when that happens, your resonance has to rise. If your resonance does not rise, it's really difficult to experience something different. Now, there are many paths to having your resonance rise. I'm certainly not claiming that frequency work or the work that I do is like the only way. That's ridiculous. There are many ways to do it, right? In order to rise your vibration or raise your vibration. But that's the key. It's to release the distortion patterns that are heavy, right? So you can have a self-awareness. You can do mindfulness, whatever it is. But the key is to be aware of what it is that keeps you stuck, and then to release those distortion patterns. I just happen to give people a little bit of a leg up because I can work at the level of the quantum, and I can actually help you release those distortion patterns at the level of the field so that they're gone, so that you then can use your self-awareness and your free will to co-create something different, to be like, no, that pattern does not exist for me anymore. I can now have a different thought, a different emotion, a different response, a different whatever it is. So I feel like for me personally, being my best, coupled with releasing the distortion patterns, that's when, for me, my journey really changed in terms of the trajectory. Because, you know, just for everyone to know, I mean, my spiritual journey wasn't like 2 seconds ago. Not that time means anything anymore these days, but I mean, I'd been seeking for over 25 years. And then finally I'm trying all these different things. And then finally, one day I was just like, I happened to be at my acupuncturist's office and she mentioned, have you ever heard of frequency work? And I was like, no, but I had this knowingness when time slowed down. I was like, but I need to. And so that's when I began. And I didn't try, I just want to make this really clear. It's not like I wanted to have abilities. It's not like I was out there being like, I really need to help people in this capacity. I had none of that. All I wanted was to stop feeling like I was freaked out about money. That was like my only outcome. So weirdly, I was just because I am who I am, 2 years of really intense like introspection and releasing my distortion patterns. And then I had a meditation, which was 9 hours long, and where I pierced the veil of forgetting into the oneness. And I didn't plan on that either. It just sort of happened. And then I perceived everything as resonance, as frequency, as vibration. And then I realized I could change it at that level. And then when I came back, I still could, which I was not expecting, by the way. And none of this was expected. I mean, it's not like I was like, gee, I'd like to do this today. It wasn't planned in any way, shape, or form. But that's what happened. So
I've got a question. So somebody
Mhm.
spends, say, 3 weeks with you, right? You work on the frequency level. So does that person simply just go through their thoughts, and then once they've got no thoughts and the vibration's raised, or do they come in with all their thoughts and then you do something specifically with frequencies that magically stops their thoughts? So what do you do exactly in terms of frequency?
Yeah. So it can look different ways. And so it's a funny thing. It's very it's so I don't talk to you. So sorry, let me back up. So the different ways that people can engage with me. So the most powerful way, I think, in a way, is what I call group frequency calibration. So you listen to what sounds like a guided meditation. Okay. And so, but it's not just a meditation, because meditation is powerful in itself. I don't think I need to tell your viewers this. I mean, I think they know. So meditation in itself is powerful. And at the same time, when you come together as a mastermind to clarify your connection to pure source and also to release distortion patterns on a particular topic, what happens in a mastermind, that is a microcosm for the one, right? That is like, we are one, right? Whether you are aware of that or not in your everyday, we are. So when you have a mastermind that is coming together for that purpose, it's like all your higher selves come together. And the thing is, when you come together in a mastermind to release, say, something like, I don't know, low self-worth, for example, if that's something that's a concern for you, well, you're going to have certain distortion patterns in this area, and someone else is going to have it show up like this, and someone else is going to have it show up like that. So everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. But when I push the resonance up of the mastermind, everyone starts to move with more and more momentum, which buoys everyone to release more of their distortion patterns more deeply. So that's one way that you can do it, right? So you listen to these group frequency calibrations. I have my own podcast. I think we have over 200 episodes at this point. And after every single one, I give a free group frequency calibration. So it's like a crap ton of free work that you can gain access to. I also give a YouTube live every month, etc. So there's a lot of ways that you can access frequency work that I give for free. So that said, that's one way. Another way is you can have a one-on-one. You know, in our culture, we're very fascinated with the one-on-one, right? It's like, I have all these issues, please fix me, right? Okay, so I mean, I get it. I was exactly the same way. I feel like the one-on-ones are helpful for like specific stuff and like sometimes catalyzing something or releasing something that's really deep. For me, I never talk to the people who come on the phone with me, ever. I don't need to. I don't need to know your thoughts, because your thoughts are just a mirror of your distortion. Your distortion runs through your field, and then you have thoughts and you have emotion that you think you're creating on your own, but you're not. They're actually just a embodied form of those distortion patterns. So whenever someone gets on like a Zoom call with me that I never see you, right? So it's like a video-less, it's just audio. I scan the field for the frequency signature that's you. And then when I find the frequency resonance that's you, I then am very clear on the priority from your higher self. It's not me doing this. I don't have any agenda for you because I don't know you. Your higher self is like, this is priority. And then I just move to like start to release those distortions. And so for the first one, typically I release the distortions that are present for the first half. And then if you have something that you really, really want me to work on, then I do that next. Most people tell me to just continue because they're like, holy shit, how did she just know that?
Hang on. So when you say moving,
Mhm.
are you talking? Are you thinking? Like they're there.
Oh,
What are you doing? You're
yeah.
tuning in. Is it just energy? Is it thoughts? What are you doing?
So I'm just scanning. So I just scan the field
Yeah.
Because like I said, I work at the level of the quantum. So I'm
Yeah.
scanning the field, the infinite field for the frequency resonance to you. When I find it, because I just do, then
Yeah.
I know
Like a
exactly
feeling.
yeah, it's like a feeling, an awareness, a thought. Not even a thought. It's like not a thought. It's like a knowing. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there they are. All right. So I'll say to the person, so what it seems like one of your greatest challenges is this, and this. Does that sound familiar to you? And they're like, yeah.
So is it like a psychic reading?
No, because it's not like I'm scanning your brain. I'm not concerned with your humanness in the same way. Because so let's just imagine someone has challenges with, I don't know, getting a project started, right? Like everything in their life just dissolves for whatever reason. Okay. Like they're trying to move forward in their lives. Let's just say, okay, this is somebody that came in recently on that I had a session with recently. And so I say hello, she says hello, I say welcome, and then I scan her. So to me, scan means be aware of the field with my awareness, my ability to do that, find the resonance that's her. And I'm like, oh, so do you have a problem with all projects not being able to move forward in your life? And there's a really high level of dissolution. You can't get going ever, and your relationships tend to dissolve, even though that you want to put effort into them and you want to have connection. There was silence, and her response was, yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, the reason that you have that is because you have a lot of ancestral dead in your field. And because you have the dead in your field, they're running a really high level of decay. And because they have a really high level of decay, which has to do with dissolution, your field is heavier with decay. So until you release that, everything will dissolve around you. Now we're going to begin. So now I start to release the dead out of her field. I release a whole bunch of distortion patterns for her, etc. And, that's what happens. So, I mean, yeah.
So at that point, when you start to erase all the dead in the field, right? Are you doing it with thoughts? Is it just feeling again? Are you saying anything?
No, I'm not saying anything because I'm not talking, right? I mean, I'm
You're
telling
doing it energetically and just feelingly.
yes, from like a frequency perspective. So it's hard for me to. You're asking a really good question, and I'm trying to verbalize it. It's more like my resonance is high enough that I'm aware at the level of the field. And at that level, I can release things at the level of the field. So yes, I have a conscious awareness. Like I suppose if a truck came along and was about to hit me, I would be aware and I would jump out of its way. But most of my attention is on the field, right? It's not really on like I don't care what the person's wearing. I don't care what their story is. Not because I don't care about them. It's more like my attention is where the higher resonating issue is, and I'm at that level. And so in my awareness, so to answer your question, Oliver, how do I know when it's done? Because the field changes in response. So what I'm reading is the field. So I found the person, I found the distortion, I can feel the resonance, I release the resonance, the distortion that causes that resonance to drop. The field instantly responds. So the field goes boom, like the light goes up, the resonance goes up, her resonance went up. I'm like, and now it's done. Next.
So for example, right, if I close my eyes and I can see sort of like lights, right, flashing colors, I'm scanning around and I latch onto this thing and now it's like red, and now I'm focusing on it more and I'm sort of like just feeling stuff, and it starts to like disperse, and then when it disperses, that's the job done. Is that essentially what it is? You're locking on to the, call it the dead ancestral pattern, and then you're focusing on it, so energy's on it, particles being observed, and then the particle reacts, becomes a wave, and you can call that dispersing. And then when you feel like it's dispersed, the energy quantum field changes, therefore they change, and therefore they feel a shift. Is it just that, or like that, if you were to explain it?
Yeah, it's more like that. But I don't see colors. I just know.
So you don't see colors. There's no sound. It's just kind of sensing, feeling. Okay, feeling. Relax, and then it's like, whew, maybe you get tingles and it's gone, right?
Yeah. So it's not physical, right? You have to remember this is at the level of the quantum. It's not a physical sensation. Your physical body, what you perceive, is very dense. It's awesome. I'm not saying it's not awesome, because the embodiment's awesome, but this is at the level of the quantum. So there's no, for me, I used to be a seer, what I would call a seer, like people who would see images or colors or whatever. That was how I used to operate. And then when my abilities came in, which were unplanned and not asked for really, then my ability to perceive changed. So I don't see anymore unless a person needs to have something communicated to them. That's very rare, though. Mostly it's a knowingness. And the thing is, what's fascinating, and it's funny how we are as beings, for me, someone who used to be a control freak, that's really terrifying because you don't know how you know. You just know, and you have to just trust what you know and what you're aware of. And I remember when I first started, it was terrifying because I was just like, what if I'm just freaking wrong? Like, what if I'm just freaking wrong? Because I could be totally wrong. But then the person would be like, yeah, that's totally right. I don't know how you know that because you don't know what I look like. I've said hello to you. That's the only clue that you have about who I am. I'm like,
And then
yeah.
when you say like, okay, the job's done, they will confirm back or affirm back that something has changed for them. How did you do it? Like they feel like this
No.
weight were lifted off the chest, right?
No, they don't necessarily know because it's happening in the level of the eternal now. So sometimes it takes people. Sometimes people are sensitive enough to feel it, but I never ask for confirmation from them because I don't need confirmation from their humanness. I know that sounds weird because it sounds like I don't care. It's not that I don't care.
I get it.
It's that for some people, it takes time for them to be aware of the shift. Not everybody's aware in real time. They're not. I mean, they would like to be, but they're not. And so sometimes they need to see life unfold in a different way. Sometimes they need to do what I call confirm the removal of the pattern, which is like with your free will, you're like, no, that doesn't exist for me. So all that stuff kind of has to happen. So it's kind of like as they live life changes around them. Who they are is different. What triggers them totally changes. So it also depends on how self-aware they are, Oliver, right? Not everyone's that self-aware. I mean, some people are, right? Some people, I work with them the first time and they feel it like crazy crap happens for them. They're like, holy shit, what was that? Right? So that's somebody who tends to be more aware, more feeling, etc. Right? There are other people who are like, yeah, no, I don't feel anything. But I can tell you that in like 2 weeks, they're like, oh my God, that person who triggered the crap out of me doesn't. This opportunity came out of left field for work that I wasn't even expecting. Something changed and they're like, okay, there's nothing that I've done differently except for that session with you. Nothing else. So do you see what I'm saying? It's not like they necessarily have a felt awareness of it. Some people do. Some people have tinglies. Some people see colors. Some people feel nothing. But the nothingness doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means that your conscious awareness is not yet aware of it yet. And I'm okay with that. So you have to just surrender into the timing of the person, right? Because I mean, their journey is their journey. It's not mine, right? It's theirs. So.
Right. Anything you want to promote and plug before we end?
Oh, yeah, well, I feel like the world is in this place where it's easy to get caught in a lot of negativity and divisiveness and cynicism right now. It's interesting. There's this like cynicism train that a lot of people seem to be on. It's kind of interesting to me. But anyway, so I created a Quiet Your Mind group frequency calibration that we can give you the link to if we haven't already. But it's there for you. It's free. And you can listen to it and it will help you to come into your center to quiet your mind, to find that stillness that you talked about, Oliver, at the very beginning of this conversation. And I feel like it's very needed at this time, right? To just give some space to those thoughts, which are just clobbering you all the time. So that is what I'm offering.
And if you had one day left to live, what is the one thing that you would tell the rest of the world?
To not forget who you truly are. You are here to awaken in this lifetime. And what does that mean? It means to become aware that you are, in part, infinite, indestructible consciousness, co-creating everything. And so there's a lot of people who will tell you that you're not enough. There are a lot of circumstances that will show you that you need to do more, that you need to learn more, that you need to give your power away to something else. But you are an extraordinarily powerful being. And the thing that we often forget when we feel alone and disconnected and separate is that we're not that valuable. But know this, the one is not complete without you. You are very, very important. So at this time, it's really important for us to strive to remember who we truly are and not give away our power to different people, without thinking, without honoring ourselves first, to know that we are incredibly powerful creators and that we are fundamentally important and incredibly beloved, exactly as you are.
Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, please remember to subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, like the episode, and comment below. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's YesKingOliver. Take a look at the other videos to your side. And if you just want to listen to this podcast, you can do so on Apple and Spotify and most other platforms by going to talkwitholiver.com.